The fact that they're touting President Joe Biden making this decision as doing what's best for the country, it's just hypocrisy, given how many of them, as you mentioned, have been saying for days that he should step down as the Democratic nominee. I think the thing here to focus on, Jesse, is all of these different calls and questions come up about what happens next, whether Joe Biden is, actually resigns or he doesn't. We just got to remember nothing's going to change. If Kamala Harris is the nominee or some other Democrat is the nominee, nothing else is going to change. Joe Biden has been the figurehead for people behind the scenes who have been calling the shots. The same will happen if Kamala Harris is elected president or other Democrats. The fact is we've got unelected power elite in Washington coming from the military-industrial complex, national security state, working with their friends in the big industrial propaganda media. They all just want to stay in power, so they don't really actually care at all about Joe Biden, no matter how many crocodile tears they shed. They're going to look for the best horse that they think will help them win and back that person.
Kamala is probably easier to manipulate than Joe Biden. At least Joe Biden knew who was who in Washington. Kamala's spring chicken. She's brand new in this scene. She doesn't know anybody. She doesn't know where it's coming from. You certainly did, though. Remember on that debate? You tangled with Kamala. Let's watch this.
Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
So Kamala's record's going to be front and center. I don't know if she knows what's coming.
The first thing that I think of when it comes to Kamala Harris, once again, trying to stand on her record is our border. She was appointed the border czar, and it's almost like she felt as long as she said on television, hey, the border is secure, that somehow it would magically be secure. That wasn't the case. We've had an unprecedented number of people crossing our borders illegally as the Biden-Harris administration's open border policy essentially aided and abetted these cartels in their multi-billion-dollar human trafficking industry, making our country far less safe.
Hey, welcome back. It's your man Wise, and today we have a great collection of videos to share. As you guys seen in the opening clip, Tulsi Gabbard, we got a chance to relive her famous or infamous debate monologue there on Kamala Harris. And that particular segment right there within that debate ended Kamala's campaign. She dropped out shortly after that. But this video isn't really about Tulsi Gabbard. This is about the American people. This is about what do Americans think about Kamala Harris, since it seems like she is going to be the chosen one for the Democrat Party. Wow. It's almost to me like we're living in some form of simulation. I know I've said this before, but I'm starting to feel like Joe Rogan in this, is that we're living in some form of simulation. This is reality TV that we're living with and witnessing right now. Let's get into the video without further ado. Before we actually go, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Actually, like this video, please, and watch it all the way through. It really, really helps the channel.
President Harris.
I think she's a dumpster fire.
In what way?
Because, if you look at her policies, you look where she stands, look where she's done. I don't know if she's ever even gone all the way down to the border yet. We have major problems on our border. That's one of her jobs. She is out of touch with any turnaround and normal voter.
One of today's themes, as we mentioned, crime. She is someone who makes Democrats uncomfortable because she was perceived to be too tough on crime in California as AG and DA.
That had followed her, obviously, through it. But you can see, I think, as soon as she got into the White House, that she's on vacation. She doesn't go and she doesn't realize what the day-to-day people are seeing. She has done nothing to turn around and support her being as a vice president, especially when you have a president that's so lax on his job and not doing the job. You would have a strong second hand that would make up for it, and she's not doing that.
Vice President Harris?
That would be a dream. She's significantly worse than Joe Biden. I mean, I think her approval ratings are worse than Joe Biden's, which is shocking.
If Vice President Harris were to run, how would that make you feel?
Worse than Biden.
In what way?
All.
Specifically?
She does nothing right.
He's absolutely right. She does nothing right. There is not a clip of Kamala Harris looking presidential. There's not one. There is not one clip of her looking like she could step in and do the job. There isn't. And the things that she's been tasked with doesn't look good. She was tasked to be the border czar. In my opinion, it's almost like they set her up. Hey, you're in charge of the border. She never actually went down to the border. How are you responsible for the border, but you never go? How does that work? I just don't understand it.
A lot of Democrats find her to be too tough on crime.
Too tough? Really?
Like Nikki Haley said.
DEI does not work anywhere.
No, it doesn't.
DEI doesn't work anywhere?
Yes, and she's a big pusher of it. No, it doesn't work.
She's a big recipient of it. Do you guys recall when she got chosen or when she was picked as the VP? It was because of the pressure from the party, specifically women, specifically black women. They told Joe, they told the party, you have to choose a black woman at VP. Here's a short list. Pick anybody on this list. We don't care. They didn't care about qualifications. They didn't care about ability. They didn't care, if this individual was articulate. They didn't care if they had, any real knowledge of foreign affairs. They didn't care about any of that. It was solely, she has to be black. She has to be a woman. That's it. They didn't care about any of that stuff.
Qualified for the job, you should have the job. If you're not qualified, you shouldn't have it.
Facts.
Were you opposed to affirmative action then?
It's the biggest joke in the world.
Kamala Harris hasn't proven herself on anything. She was given the responsibility for the border. That's a big issue for Texas. There's no excuse for that. Just allowing 10 million people that are illegal into the country. So I don't know. There's just they've kind of painted themselves into a corner with identity politics. Picking certain personality traits, sexual preferences, things like that to put people in positions, and we need the most qualified people.
Who do you think would run the best against Donald Trump?
I don't know who would run the best, but in a Democratic situation which we find ourselves in, one would think it would be his vice president, Kamala Harris. And I believe that if it is not Kamala Harris, it's really going to hurt the party because it's really going to highlight and speak to how they have no interest in the people's voice. It's just the power structure voice.
What about Vice President Harris?
If they actually had interest in the people, they would have allowed a real primary to take place earlier this year, and they would allow the people to voice their opinion. But they chose not to do that. They chose to put on a farce of a primary season. And now here we are, 4 months away from the election, with the current president dropping out of the race, and they are scrambling to try to figure out who they can put in this. And then because they chose identity politics as a way to choose their candidate, they're backed into a corner. They really don't have a choice but to go with Kamala Harris. They really don't have a choice.
Oh, God, no. No.
And what about the former First Lady, Michelle Obama?
No, not at all. She would probably excite the Democrats more, but Republicans and independents aren't going to vote for her.
No way.
No.
You think there are a lot of independents out there?
Yes. More and more. More and more, because both parties have become, how would I say it, I won't, I mean, the common terminology is more parties have become more extreme. I won't say more extreme, but there's become a larger gap between what the two parties represent. And a lot of people just want common sense things done. And that's why I think more and more people are going to, as an independent, not wanting to be a member of one of the two parties.
One Democrat, if you heard, oh, so-and-so is running, where you'd say, that one, it could be tough. I still think we'll win, but it could be tough.
For me, maybe I'm in the bubble, but for me, I go to a super liberal school. It's rated every year one of the most liberal schools, and I still couldn't say, I don't know who could put up a proper fight against Trump at this point.
What about Vice President Harris?
No. I would say I don't think replacing Biden with Harris would do any difference. I still think it would just end up in the same spot and them getting swept with most of the states.
And what about Michelle Obama?
Michelle Obama, I like Michelle Obama. She's a good people person, but I don't know if she's the person that we need running our country at this point. I'm sure we'd get along, and she's a great people person. I'd love to talk to her, but I don't think she's the type of person that we need right now in our country to run our country.
Vice President
I personally don't think Michelle Obama has the chops to be president. She's a really nice person, at least on the outside or on the exterior and what she lets off. But to be president, there's a certain amount of alpha and a certain amount of dog you got to have in order to be president, for real. Because we need countries to take us seriously. We need world leaders around the world to take us seriously. And there's a certain amount of dog you got to have to sit in that top spot. And I just don't see Michelle, and I don't see Kamala having that in her either. She can't have a serious conversation without laughing. Everything's a laugh. Do y'all not recall press conference she had with the leader of Poland and she started cackling, a friend indeed is a friend in need, or some foolishness like that? Do y'all not recall seeing that? She is not a serious person.
Harris.
No, I don't think she has a chance.
Your Senator Ted Cruz said that he thinks that Michelle Obama could beat Donald Trump and is maybe the only person who could definitely beat him. Do you agree?
Well, I think it depends on if the Democrats are willing to listen to more lies, pablum, ridicule from their side, but not really any real solutions, except their continued problems that they're creating for America. And they're just going to continue the problems they're committing for everyday citizens. At some point, their folks are going to have to feel the pain that their own parties throw in their direction, because it's going to hit them.
Who do you think would be the best candidate for the Democrats to run right now against Donald Trump?
Honestly, they have a very weak bench. I can't even really think of anybody. Kamala is so disliked, even not just by Republicans and independents, but her own party. She really hasn't done much as a VP. And
do you think the VP does much anyway in general?
Obviously not. Obviously not.
But we've elected many VPs, but the job doesn't require a lot to do.
Exactly. But the bench, even Newsom, his record in California is horrific. Mm-hmm. So they just don't have a bench. I can't think of anybody. And honestly, I wish they had a good candidate.
Harris is going to, if not, then Harris will replace him. But a lot of them don't want Harris, okay?
Who is the Democrat that you know of that would do best against Trump?
Oh, gosh, Democrat that would do best against Trump. That I would want to do against Trump, or I think would have the best chance of beating Trump.
That would have the best chance of beating Trump, or would come closest to beating Trump?
I guess Kamala, because the money that they have behind her. I know they'll lose their funding if they don't run her because of the Biden-Harris campaign. I think Newsom's too far left to run against Trump. I don't think any middle ground would vote for Newsom. And then Michelle Obama, I don't think so. I think she's also too far left.
Is there someone?
I would agree with that. And that's the problem with the bench, whatever little bit of bench they do have over on the Democrats, is that they are far left radical progressives. People that are moderate Democrats can't get in line or get on board with what they want to push on the far left. Goodness gracious. They can't even get on board with it. So much so that you got a lot of them either saying that they are going to abstain, or a lot of them are moving over either to independents or becoming Republicans. That's how crazy and radicalized the left has become. Makes no sense, but let's get on to the next video. Check this out.
Only person who's incredibly fascinated by this whole change in media and how people feel about Kamala Harris, plus this little rebrand she's having. I do think part of it has to do with the fact that they're trying to soft launch her to replace Biden for, like, you know, the presidential candidate. But, like, I'm so surprised by the way these young people are acting about her. Cause, like, 4 or 5 years ago, didn't young people hate this woman so much, and now she's like the baddie in office? Every time I go in
they still don't like her.
The internet, I see her as either an edit of her or what you'll call fan cam. Now, every time I go on Twitter, I see an edit of her on some famous album cover, and the audio is like her laughing. It's always a comment about her silk press or how she's always laughing. And it's like, y'all used to literally despise this woman. Like, where? This love.
The fact that the only thing that they can talk about is her hair and how much she's laughing lets you know that this is not a person that you can take seriously for the highest office in the world. That just lets you know that. Check this out.
Talk with students about Kamala Harris. Do they approve of the job she's doing? And if yes, can they name any specific accomplishments or policies that they're especially proud of? Let's find out. I want to get your thoughts on our Vice President, Kamala Harris. What do you think of her? Is she doing a good job in office?
Yeah, I think so. I really like her. I think it's very...
That's the problem with a lot of these women, and especially a lot of the young women, but I'm just going to say the women in general. They're not looking at the policies. They're solely looking at this gender and identity politics. That's the only thing that they care about. We just want a woman. We don't care how good she is. If she is the one, she is the one. She could stink. She could blow the country up. They don't care. They don't care. Well, they won't care until everybody is in soup lines. They won't care. You know, and then they'll say, we got to get this chick up out of there.
Inspiring to see our first, woman vice president.
I do love having a woman, person of color, Democratic leader in that position.
Wait for it.
And I think she's a great representation.
I feel like definitely it's amazing to have a woman vice president, and we're making great headway with that, and she's a definite girl boss.
Can you name any specific accomplishments that she's had since she's taken office?
Not one.
No, not any specific ones particularly, no.
So then what do you like about her?
Just I think she's doing a good job.
Can you name any specific accomplishments that you're super proud of?
See, that's what I'm saying. You can't even take these people seriously, man. You just can't. You can't take she's great. We think she's done a great job. Can you name one thing that you think that was great, that she's got accomplished or that she said? Maybe it was a press conference that you heard. Maybe it was a speech that you heard. Anything. Is there anything? Nope. It's just all virtue signaling, it's all propaganda, man. It's all identity politics. And it's sad that's where we are with the Democrats. They don't care about this country. They don't care about good policies. They just care about power. They care about winning. You got a bunch of black women still talking about, how, oh my goodness, the Trump and the conservative Supreme Court justices took away a constitutional right, which pregnancy termination is not in the Constitution as a right. It's just not. Come on now. Let's stop. But for those that don't know, they can tell you this and folks believe it. It's the world we living in, man. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment down below. I appreciate all the love and support. Consider joining the ARP family. It supports me, the team, this channel. It gives us the ability to do what we do on a day-to-day basis. I appreciate each person that has joined the family thus far. Keep God first in your life. Stay prayed up, and I'm going to catch up with you all next time. Peace.